Well, everyone, it's about that time again where I have to go and talk about this humongous problem that these iPhone 12s, every single one of them has pretty much had. And it actually shows some hypocrisy that Apple is really showing. And it seems like every year I talk about these specific issues, and it's actually really, really important, I feel like. And, I want to give a huge shout out to Hugh Jeffries. I don't know why he doesn't like me anymore, but he basically did this breakdown video that was actually on the front page of Reddit, which was really interesting. And it pretty much talked about, the bugs and the glitches that the iPhone 12 can experience if you actually substitute some parts with non-factory parts and even genuine Apple parts. And this is something that's really, really interesting to me. And it doesn't make any sense why Apple does it. They've been doing it time and time again, and it's one of the weirdest things they've ever done. So basically what happens is if you take your iPhone 12 or 12 Pro, 12 mini, 12 Pro Max in the future, and you want to go ahead and, let's say, change the screen or change the camera or fix really anything you can on it without it going to the store, without going to the Apple store, you really can't go ahead and fix these things because they'll consider it kind of like a non-factory part. And we've seen this time and time again from Apple, and they're not the only ones who do it. Samsung does it. I think OnePlus may do it too, but I know Samsung does it for a fact. And this is one of those areas where I honestly don't understand why they do this. It's honestly very, very strange to me. And I remember back to, I think, the iPhone 5S, for example, they actually made it so if you go ahead and change the panel was actually tied to the Touch ID. So basically, if you wanted to replace the panel and, still maintain the fingerprint sensor, you were not able to do that. Basically, you had to go to the Apple store and they had to use their software at the time to go ahead and kind of reprogram whatever and basically get that fingerprint sensor working on that display. And that was something that was very, very weird to me. I generally don't really understand why that was the case. And they eventually made it even worse with the iPhone 7 and iPhone 8 series, in which they embedded the actual home button on the display. So if you went ahead and changed the display, which I did actually before on my iPhone 7, basically the whole entire home button wouldn't work. You would not be able to press it in. You would not be able to use a fingerprint sensor. So you always had to use assistive touch. And if you remember my old, iPhone videos that I did, including my white iPhone 7 with the pink back, basically that one doesn't have a functional home button. You can always see that I use Touch ID for those things. And that was something that was very, very weird to me. And I don't really understand why Apple did that. And then eventually with the future iPhones, same thing with Face ID. Basically, if you go replace Face ID on it, you replace the display. Face ID will not work. I have an iPhone XS that doesn't have a working Face ID, and I think a XS Max too. But this one is even stranger than that because basically Apple has built in these software problems. So if something happens and if you go replace the part yourself, software glitches will actually impact the way you can even use those specific parts, and your phone will pretty much not be functional, which is extremely, extremely weird. So this is a case that, a lot of people have stated, if you go ahead and replace the camera, if you replace anything yourself, which could have technically been replaced by a third-party developer, third-party store or whatever, you could technically, get it working and still pretty much use the phone. I've done this time and time again with a ton of other devices, but in this time, it's actually not going to be the case. So this is pretty much making it so that a ton of, third-party people who want to go and repair these devices will not be able to actually authentically replace any parts in these phones, even with genuine Apple parts. And this is a humongous problem. Apple is kind of making a monopoly on their own services. Before, with like PCs and a lot of other devices, if you go ahead and break whatever, you can fix it yourself. And this is why I always love old iPhones, because you can replace the parts fairly easily and fairly cheaply. With these new iPhone 12s, if you crack the screen or you break the camera or your battery is whatever, you will have to go to Apple to go ahead and get it fixed. And if you don't, basically you won't be able to get it working. And if you have somebody who says you can get it fixed from them and they're not a certified Apple developer or certified Apple retailer, then you're not going to get a functioning phone. You're going to have a ton of software problems within it. And it's not like these are software problems that are like going to happen with anything that you replace. If you replace a camera, you're going to experience it. These are software problems that Apple has actually implemented into their own device purposely to make people not use a third-party person to replace their devices and fix their devices. You have to go to a certified Apple fixer, a certified Apple store, or an Apple store to have it fixed, basically. And that is, causing two different problems. One, they're going to increase the prices because it's kind of a commodity. You have to go and get it fixed by them. You don't really have any other choices. So there's really nothing we can really do about it there. But also, they mention a lot of things about e-waste. They mention a lot of things about, the environment. And that was the whole reason why they removed the charging brick and the USB cable in the box, right? That's pretty much what they were saying. But if you actually look in this specific case, just imagine how many iPhones are going to be out in the market with cracked screens, with bad cameras, with faulty hardware that may be or may not be the fault of the user. And maybe it's not really going to be affected now. A lot of these devices are under warranty and stuff and Apple Care and stuff. But within a year from now or 2 years from now, just imagine the next set of iPhones. How many parts are going to just be thrown away? How many iPhones are just not going to be fixed because people just can't afford them? And maybe they can turn it in, but they may not want to. And they'll probably end up just ending up in like landfills and stuff just because, and you'll be surprised by how many phones just end up in landfills. And it's probably not going to happen anytime soon who's going to throw away an iPhone 12. But just imagine 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now when all the iPhones are just unrepairable. And I take a look at my iPhone 7 that had a cracked screen, or my iPhone 6s Plus that had a cracked screen, or my iPhone 5s. I was able to replace those things and still pretty much have a functioning device for the most part. It was still working for the most part. But if for some reason I could not repair those things and nobody was going to buy it from me, what am I going to do with it? Am I just going to have it in my drawer all day? Maybe for months and months and months, but then at some point people are going to throw it away. And we're just going to have such an excess of devices, not today, not tomorrow, but years and years and years from now. Unless Apple goes ahead and allows people to recycle these parts themselves. And I'm not saying for them to be as open as possible and allow people to just tinker with whatever. I understand there's a lot of security risks involved, but why does the phone have to be locked down? Why do all these things have to happen in order for people just to have to go to the Apple store to fix their device? It genuinely does not make any sense to me. I don't know why they're doing it this way. It's just so awkward and it's just such a sloppy way of going about it. I thought the iPhone, I don't know if it was the 11 or iPhone 10 or 10s, but there was a set of iPhones where if you replace the display, the Face ID goes off, and that's with the, first couple iPhone 10, 10s, 10s Max, whatever. And that makes sense. I can kind of understand that. But if somebody cracks their phone and, they have to go and get it replaced, a lot of people can't afford the rates that Apple has put out. I think it's like $300 and something for a screen replacement from Apple. A lot of people can do it for like $70, $80 I've seen before. And with the iPhone 10 panels, those have actually gone down in price a lot. But imagine just a couple years from now, these third-party retail stores who are actually fixing these phones and everything, that whole industry is going to go out of business if Apple continues to do these type of things. And just imagine if, a lot of companies have followed Apple before, and if Samsung ends up doing it on a bigger scale, if LG, OnePlus, all these other phone manufacturers end up doing it on a bigger scale, it's going to be a very, very sloppy way of pretty much killing an industry and just allowing these huge manufacturers, Samsung, Apple, whoever else, basically to have a monopoly over our whole entire phone repair service place, because it's just going to be such a weird mess. And I understand if you have problems with certain devices, taking it into the Apple store and having them fix it, that totally makes sense to me, and I 100% get that. But if a screen breaks or if something happens, you can't just take it to the local repair shop that you know of, that you've been to for years and years now. You have to go take it to the Apple store and pay their huge markup, in my opinion. So I'm not a huge fan of this. And for Apple to actually make these, fake bugs and fake glitches in their software is just so strange to me. And for it to happen with actual factory and actual genuine Apple parts too is very, very weird. And this is just planned obsolescence at its core. This is exactly what it is. People can try to act like, oh, it's nothing else, whatever. We've been talking about it for years. They did it with the batteries. They did it with so many things. And this is just another, puzzle piece in this whole planned obsolescence thing that Apple is doing. I wish they didn't do it. They kind of do it with software, and they officially and actually do it with software in this point. So that's the huge problem this year. I guess there may be more, but it's just something that's so awkward, and I don't know why they're doing it. It's just such a weird, it's just so blatant, and it's so cringy because it's so obvious that it's just a money grab. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, you can let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly, everything else. I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.